All right. So we'll be starting off with the concept. Hey, who moved my slide? It used to be who moved my cheese, but who moved my slide? Okay. So the concept here I'm gonna teach is concept number 27, and it talks about tax and commissions. Okay, taxes and commissions. So what happens is the amount of tax that you have to pay is equal to the income tax percentage that is there multiplied by the net income. Okay, or multiplied by the income that is there. And once the income tax is deducted, that is what you get as the in hand income. Okay, that is what you get as the in hand income. So it's nothing but simple, a game of percentages, and once you'll start playing it, then you'll get to know how standardized and how easy it is. Moving on, a man's annual income has increased by 2 lakh rupees, but the income tax or the income that he has to pay, or the income that he has to pay has reduced from 20% to 16%, from 20% to 16%, but he is paying the same tax as before. So what is his increased income? So I'm using the same concept which I taught you in the previous slide, and the income and the concept is that the man's income has increased by 2 lakhs, and he has to pay some income tax. 20% is the old income tax, and 16% is the new income tax. Okay, 16% is the new income tax. 20% was applied to the old income, which is X, and 16% is applied to the income that is X plus 2 lakhs. And according to the question, the income tax in terms of rupees is equal to the same. So I'm going to do the same. According to the question, 20% multiplied by X is equal to 16% multiplied by X plus 2. I'm considering it to be 2. I'll get a smaller value, or I'll get a different value, like a value which is a fraction of 2, because it's definitely, or a bigger portion of 2. So you need not worry. Okay, it's going to be a very simple problem over here. 20% of x can be written as x upon 5 is equal to 16%. I'll write 16% straight away. Okay, 16% plus 16% of 2 lakhs, that is equal to 32,000 rupees. Yeah, 2 lakhs, 32,000 rupees. I shouldn't have changed this to 1.5. I can let it remain as 2. Okay, 16% of x, and this is 20% of x. So 16 minus this becomes 4% of x. That is equal to 32,000. Now let's make it to be 100%. Okay, multiply this by 25, multiply this as 25, multiply this by 25, you get 100%. Okay, multiply 32 by 25, multiplied by 4, divide by 4, 4 8s are, this is 800. This means 8 lakh rupees is the value of x. And what was my x? X was my assumed income, the assumed annual income before the increase. What was his increased income is the question. If the value of x is equal to 8 lakhs, so what would be the value of plus 2 lakhs increase in income? It would give you the value as 10 lakhs. Get it? Get it? Moving on. Now there is a concept of Venn diagram based questions. Only A percent, only B, both A and B, and no A and B. What happens here is, what particularly happens here is that there are students who are studying. Let's assume they like a subject. Just give me a moment. Excuse me. Yeah. So there are students in the same set of classroom. Sorry again. There are students in the same set in the same classroom, and what happens is that these students have to study together, and they have to select a subject. Let's assume that some of them like science and some of them like English. There would be a category of students who like science as well as English, which would fall somewhere in the middle. And there would be a category of students who don't like any of the subjects and they just like to go out and play. So this means neither science nor English. So this constitutes the entire classroom. This entire thing, summation, should be equal to 100%. Okay. Okay. So if I need to find out of how many students are liking a subject, then I can say science plus English plus English, science plus English. Now the problem here is when I talk about science only, I when I talk about science, I get this entire story played for me. Okay, and when I talk about English, I get this entire story played for me. Like this also comes into the picture. Now this is a common area. Now this is a common area. This particular common area has a lot of significance, and the significance is that the common area is being counted twice. The common area which is being counted twice is happening because science has a component which loves English and English has a component which loves science. So it is being counted twice. That is why if I only wish to know of how many students are interested in studying, be it science or be it English, then I have to subtract a component of common area. Common area or both. I have to subtract that component. So science plus English minus common would give me the total number of students who like studying. And when I also add the component of no science plus no English, or I say only the students who love to play. So this would give me the 100% of an entire classroom. Okay. So moving on and directly jumping to the question immediately. In an examination, 73% of the candidates passed the quant test, 70% passed the general awareness test, and 64% passed in both the subjects. If 6,300 students failed in both the subjects, find the total number of examinees or how many students attempted the examination. Once I will draw the Venn diagram. Secondly, I will solve it immediately. This is the first Venn diagram. The left hand side likes the aptitude test, 80 is aptitude test, and the second one's like the GA or the general awareness test. Here there are 73% students who've passed, and here there are 70% students who've passed. And there is an outer area, like the students who don't like to study at all and wish to play. There is an outer area which is 6,300 students who failed, and there is a common area of 64% of students who passed in both of them. So it says if uh, 6300 is the number of examiners, this is these all is in are in percentages. Okay, if 6300 is the total number of examinees, then what do I need to do? What do I need to find out is the total number of examinees. Okay, so I'll talk about the percentages here. It's 73% is aptitude plus 70% is GA minus 64% once, because there is a double counting which I need to remove. Okay, 64% minus from this would give me 79%. 79% of the students passed. Now, out of 100% of the total, out of 100% of the total, there is a component that is missing over here. And the missing component over here is 21% in nature, 21% in percentage term, not in absolute terms. And luckily, we've been given the value of 21% over here. The 21% students who are failing is equal to 6300. If the value of 21 is 63, that means 3 is being multiplied. So the value of 100 would also be a multiplication of 3, not 3 but rather 300. So 300 with another two zeros. This gives the total number of students who are the examinees or who are sitting to take the examination. There is a small English fault which I would like to help you with. The exams are not given. Exams are taken. Okay, do remember it. You will stand out in the crowd when you tell he may that I am not somebody who came here to give the exam. I am somebody who came here to take the exam. Okay, it's always you take the examination. So you've understood the concept of Venn diagrams. This is A, this is the small area B, and this is C, and there is an outer area D. A plus C minus B plus D is equal to full 100%. Okay, now move on. There is a branch tree approach which says that there might be 100% which is split into different portions. So it can be distributed using the branch tree approach, and this is very interesting. Once you see the questions, then you'll be able to understand, because there's not much to explain. I just say the word branch tree approach, and if I tell you some concepts about it, you won't be able to understand them unless you solve a few questions of it. Okay, it says Mr. Starr gave 30% of the money he had to Bruce. He also gave 30% of the remaining amount to each Natasha, Captain, and Vision. Half of the remaining amount he spent on miscellaneous items, and the remaining amount he spent on his amount of 14,000 he deposited in Marvel's fund. How much money did Mr. Stark initially have? So let's assume he had a pool of 100% money. Okay, he had a big pool of 100% money. Out of that, he gave 30% to Bruce Wayne. Okay, there's no other Wayne written, so I presume it is Bruce Wayne. I'll write Bruce over here. In the examination, it's okay. He's not talking about Bruce Wayne or somebody else, so it is okay for you to not write the name at all. Then, out of the 70% remaining, he is distributing 30% of the 70 to three people who are Natasha, Captain, and Vision. 30% of 70 means 21%, 21%, 21%. 21 times 3, which we've done in the previous question, that is 63. Now 70% minus 63. The 21% have gone here. Now only 7% remain. Okay, this is 21%, 21%, 21%. Now only the 7% remain. Now half of the remaining amount he spent on the miscellaneous items. The remaining amount is 7%, and remaining is half of that would be 35.5% on MISC, miscellaneous items, and another 3.5% he is left with, which is given to be equal to 14,000 rupees, which he deposited in Marvel's account. He deposited 14,000 rupees in Marvel's account, which account to be 3.5% of the total amount. So how much money did he start off with in the beginning? So in the beginning, he started off with 100% of the money, which is equal to 7 fives are 35. 7, I'll just take one more zero up here because I removed the point from here. 7 fives are 35, 7 twos are 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 ones are 5, and 5 20s are. So this comes down to be 20,000 into 4. This comes down to be 4 lakh rupees. Okay, so 4 lakh rupees was the amount of money that he started off with in the beginning. In the beginning, he started off with 4 lakh rupees. This is a branch tree approach of where you start splitting out things. It starts splitting out the branches in the first row itself. Okay, this is the first split. This is the second split, And this could have also turned into two different splits, but as the value was coming down to be same, 3.5 and 3.5, I did not think of splitting it in two different areas. I thought of splitting it in the same area. Splitting direction doesn't matter, you can split it in left, right, wherever you want to, but it should be as clear as crystal. Okay, it should be very, very crystal clear of where you are sending what. That is very important. Okay, now moving on to the next question. Jay spends 50% of his monthly income on grocery and bills, 20% of his monthly income on buying the clothes, 5% of his monthly income on medicines, and the remaining amount of 12,500 he saves. What is the monthly income? Out of percentages, out of the entire concept of percentages, you would find one value which relates to a different unit. When I talk about the units of percentage, the units of percentage are nothing but a percentage sign. But when I talk about the unit of money which needs to come out, like the answer which needs to come out, see, look at the answer which needs to come out. So it has to be in terms of some currency, okay, so that you can reach absolute values. So a currency should definitely be involved. If a currency is not involved, you will see that the answer is incorrect, okay, or you can even call out the question to be wrong. So please focus on this. Jay spends 50% of his monthly income on grocery and bills, 20% of his monthly income on buying clothes, 5% of his monthly income on medicines. So it is not talking about the remaining concept. See how beautiful it is. See how beautiful it is. It is not talking about the remaining concept. It is talking straight away. Okay. 50% on monthly bills and 20% on his monthly income on clothes and 5% on medicines. So he's already spending 75% of his income. What is left is 25%. The value of 25% is equal to 12,500. So what is his monthly income? That is 100%. So 25 times 1s are 25 times 4s are 4 into 12,500 is equal to 50,000 rupees. And this is the answer I was looking for. The main point of solving this question was there is no there is no concept of remaining. There is no concept of remaining. Okay, so this is the I'm sitting at concept number 30 now, and the 30 says it is an allegation based or an income or expenditure based concept. Okay, so what happens over here is this is a very long drawn method which is here. So what you have to do is you have to assume income to be 100 or 1000. 1000 in the cases which seem to be complex. Complex means very what should I say, very complicated percentages are given. 19.75, 18.5. So the complicated percentages come out to be easily solvable in if you assume the income to be 1000 and income can be standardized and assumed to be 100 in simpler questions. Okay, for the ones who understand allegation pretty well, so this is the allegation based concept, but I will help you solve it without even allegation. Okay, just see it once. If Lucky spends 85% of his income, Lucky spends 85% of his income. If his expenditure has increased by some percentage and saving has increased by 60% and the income is increased by 26%, what is the value of X? The percentage signs that we have over here are not at all complex, so we're going to use 100x. Okay, 100 itself. 100 is the income he spends. Okay, this is the expenditure, this is the income, this is exp, this is income, and this is savings. Okay, he was already doing 85 is to 15. If the expenditure is increasing by some percentage, his saving is increasing by 60%. 60% means 9 extra. 9 extra means 24 it has become. And his income is increased by 120 by 26%. This comes out to be 126. So the difference is 102. Just look at it. The difference is 17. The base is 85. 85 means this is the old income and this is the new income. Okay, this is the new and this is the old. So 17 upon 85 multiplied by 100 would give you 20%. Okay, it would give you 20%. So be focused, stay sharp. These questions are easily doable. Do not get fixated on solving questions with the help of allegation all the time. Okay, moving on. This question also might seem to be a very big and bold question of allegation. But see what I'm talking about over here is there are three. There's an alloy. An alloy is equal to is basically something. It's a form of a metal which is formed by using different components or different elements. Okay, alloy is based on elements. When an alloy is created, it has very defined, well defined proportions of different elements in it. It is not based on a pure element. Okay, alloy means, and the reason for creation of alloys is that it creates a new product which has very good properties. Okay, it has better properties than properties than its original sources. Like if I introduce nickel and silver and copper and tin, then this is how they create an alloy. Some alloys are like brass, aluminium. I'll give you a very thorough and detailed list of how things go on from here. Okay, an alloy contains 40% silver, 40% silver, 30% copper, and 30% nickel. Okay, how much silver should be added to 25 kgs of this entire alloy so that the new alloy contains 50% of silver? Okay, if I talk about 25 kg of the alloy and split it into three portions of 40, 30, and 30, of 40, 30, and 30, 25 kg, 40% is equal to 10 kg. Now 30% of this is 7.5 kg and 30% of this is 7.5 kg. Now, I need to have the total of these two quantities is 15 kgs. The total of these two quantities is 15 kgs. So copper and nickel together make 15 kgs. If I need to add pure silver into the equation, I need to match it with the total value of copper and nickel in it. Okay, so I need to match it with the total value of copper and nickel in it. So when silver, there is some amount of silver which needs to be added, and with it needs to be matched with the quantity of copper and nickel with it. So I have 10 kg silver plus X should be equal to 15 kg of copper plus nickel. Okay, copper plus nickel. So this 10 kg would be subtracted from 15 kgs. The X would come out to be 5 kgs. So 5 kg of silver can be added to the alloy directly. 5 kgs of pure silver, mind you, my friends. 5 kg of pure silver needs to be added to the entire 25 kg of the alloy to make it in a 50-50 ratio. Okay, 50% of silver and 50% of rest everything. Thank you, and moving on. A grocer mixes two varieties. I mean, mixes. It's not mixes. It's mixes two varieties of tea, costing 300 and 160 in such a ratio that by selling the ratio at the rate of 187, there is a profit of 10%. Now let me bring it down to a very clear point. If in 187 rupees there is a 10% profit, then it is hiding a value of 110 in it, and I need to bring it to the standard point or to the original point. Just give me a second. I dropped my pen. Yeah. So I need to bring it to justice and I need to bring it to a point where I can get the original value without any profit involved. So I'm going to cancel these two. 11 ones are 11, 11 ones are 11, 11 sevens 77. So 170 rupees is the cost of the mixture when it is done between 300 rupees and 160 rupees. So I will keep 170 rupees in the center, and I would keep 300 rupees thing on the left and 160 rupees on the right, and then I would apply the allegation. So 300 and 170 when the difference is 130, and 170 and 160 the difference is 10. So the answer is 1 is to 13. So this is the, in what respective ratio does the grocery seller mix the two varieties of tea? This is the expensive or the premium variety of tea, and this is the cheaper variety of tea. And this is how I can reach this conclusion. Okay, moving on a certain date, and trust me, this is the most beautiful question I've ever seen. SSC asked this question very recently, and this is one of the most beautiful questions I've ever seen. On a certain date, Pakistan has a success rate of 60% against India. Okay, Pakistan has a success rate of 60% against India in all the ODIs played between them, between the two countries. Pakistan lost the next 30 ODIs in a row to India, and their success rate dropped to 30%. What is the total number of ODIs played between the two countries? Okay. In this kind of question, I'm going to start off with an assumption. The assumption is that the total number of matches played initially were 10x. Okay. And according to 10x, the winning tendency of Pakistan and India, the winning tendency or the matches which were already won by Pakistan were 6x, and the matches already won by India were 4x. 6x and 4x. Now there were 30 matches more which came out, and this dropped their success rate by 30% and 70%. Okay, this dropped their success rate to 30%, and the chances of India to win became 70%. So you need to find out the total number of matches which were played. So I'm going to equate the successes of India into one particular form. The total number of matches which were played were 10x plus 30, and the number of matches in which India won was out of 70% was this 4x plus 30. This is the India wins. But when I talk about the percentage of India winning, the percentage of India winning at the end came out as 70%. Came out as 70%. So this is how the equation turns out to be, that I am equating India's success with the loss of Pakistan, and the number of matches should be equal. Okay. So now see what I'm gonna do. 70% of 10x is 7x, plus 70% of 30 is 21, is equal to 4x plus 30. This is gonna come here. So 3x is equal to 9, and the value of x is equal to 3. The value of x is equal to 3. Now the question comes out is, how many matches were played between the country? I assume that 10x matches were played in the starting. So 10x is equal to 30. And another 30 matches were played in which India became victorious. So the total number of matches being played were 60 in number. Were 60 in number. Okay, I'll explain the question one more time because there might be people who don't understand it well. When this is the first theory, okay, this was the percentage of winning out of the 10x matches which were played. Pak had already won 6x and India had already won 4x. That is what determined that 60% Pak winning theory. Then another next 30 matches went on where only India won, or all the matches were won only by India, which came down to the conclusion. This is the second theory, which is the second theory. The second theory says that Pakistan would now be winning 30% of the entire matches and India would be winning 70% of the entire matches. When asked by me, what is the value of 70% of the entire matches? So 10x plus 30 is the total number of matches. Okay, what is 70%? This is 70% is success percentage of India. What is 4x plus 30? What is 4x plus 30? 4x plus 30 is the absolute wins done by India. Okay, 4x plus 30 are the absolute wins which were done by India. When you equate these two lines, when you equate these two lines, that is when you get the solution as x is equal to 3, and that can be entered over here, which gives you the total matches. Okay, this gives you the total matches. I hope you've understood it pretty well. Moving on to the last question. Okay, just 5 more minutes. Here again, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna use hide and seek method. Okay, we're gonna use the hide and seek method. The population of a city was 18,000. If the next year the population male increased by 5% and that of the female increased by 7%, and the total population increased to 19,200, then what was the ratio of males and females in the given year? Okay, so I am starting off with 18,000 and I am assuming that there are only females. So, no. I'll assume that there are only males. The reason is pretty simple, that it is more difficult to multiply 7% with 18,000. So I'm going to use 5% instead. So if there are only males in the picture, 5%. So that would bring an increase of 900 only. How am I so sure about 900? Because when I talk about 18,000 and I consider only males, there is a 5% increase. And the 5% increase is 18,000 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 900. Okay, 900. 900 only. But the actual increase is equal to, but the actual increase is equal to 19,200. 19,200 minus 18,000, which is equal to 1200. So there is a gap between 900 and 1200, and the gap was merely created by the fallacy which we followed, that only male people are increasing, only male are increasing. So 900 minus 1200 or 1200 minus 900 gives us 300, and the reason behind it is the difference of the percentages. The percentages here are 5% and 7%, that is equal to 2%. 2% divided by 300 would give me 15,000, would give me 15,000, right? Uh, yeah, the difference is 3. The difference is this. This would give me 15,000. And 15,000 is the number of females. It is the number of females who are there. See, as we've reached a point where we know where we know for sure that there are 1500 females, 15,000 females. We also know for sure that there are 3000 males because the total population is 18,000. The total population is 18,000. That is how we got to know that the number of males and number of females are what. So, as we have this number available, the question asked is 3000 versus 15,000. The 3 and the 3 go away. 3 is to 15 is 1 is to 5, and 1 is to 5 is the answer over here. Okay, this is where we end. This is where we end percentages. And if there's any doubt, please drop your comments. We'll be happy. We'll be happy to solve that. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great time. Revise all the questions twice. That is only when you'll be able to attempt them in the examination without any problems. Okay. All the best.